Greetings, fellow carbon-based bipeds. I am Scott Rose, and you are watching Explosions and Stuff. Today, I'll be reviewing the 1989 film Shotgun, starring Stuart Chapman, Riff Hutton, and David Marriott. An overview of the film is the prostitute sister of police detective Ian Jones is beaten to death by one of her customers. Unable to bring her killer to justice through the proper channels, he becomes a bounty hunter and earns the nickname Shotgun Jones. The pros of this movie? Well, first of all, this movie was definitely a B movie, and it was absolutely a product of its time. Now, I know that may sound like it's actually a con, but I love that. I love movies that don't really age well, because it's kind of like opening up a time capsule and seeing, oh, this is what things were like during this time period. I loved that. I also loved the first action scene. It was a great scene, great blood squibs, lots of gunfire all over the place. It was fantastic. This movie had very little shaky cam during the action scenes, which these days is near impossible to find. So I love it when a movie doesn't have a lot of shaky cam. This movie's soundtrack was fantastic as well. This movie even had its own theme song. For a low-budget movie, to have its own theme song is nearly unheard of. This movie had a really good theme song, and it fit the tone of the movie wonderfully. The cons of this movie? Well, I hope you love that theme song, because you're going to hear it over and over and over again. Like every third song in this movie is some rendition of the theme song, whether it's just instrumental, whether it's a snippet from this part of the theme song or a snippet from a different part of the theme song. They seriously overused that one particular song. They probably paid a lot for it and just wanted to get their damn money's worth out of it. The story of this movie was really confusing, especially towards the beginning. Like at one point, two robbers walk into a bar where Jones and his cop partner are sitting, and they're trying to rob the place. You go in to hear it described, you think this is going to be a great gun battle, a great action scene. But I'm sitting here watching this, I'm like, where the hell did this come from? What's going on? I was too confused to enjoy the action scene. The movie had some awful audio issues as well. I mean, there were times the background audio was higher or lower, different volumes. There were times when there were clearly some actors who were there for a particular shot who weren't there for other shot. Like, these people clearly weren't interacting with each other. It was just bad. The acting in this movie was also very stiff. Now, I get this was a low-budget movie. The lead actor of this movie doesn't have hardly any titles to his credit. He hasn't done very much, so this is clearly a low-budget movie by all regards. But the acting was still really stiff. I'm willing to forgive that, though, because of the low budget. But one thing I can't forgive is just how slow this movie was. The main motivating factor was the death of Jones's sister. But she didn't die until halfway through the movie. This is a revenge story. You're going through half the movie establishing characters, just doing stuff that is irrelevant to the majority of the film, just taking up time. What the hell? Speed it up! My favorite action scene in this movie would easily be the big final battle at the end. Shotgun Jones and one of his random buddies, who looks like a beefy version of Freddie Mercury, build a little tank car thing with a flamethrower and invade Mexico, or at least a small town in Mexico. And they just start shooting all the bad guys in there. It's fantastic. I mean, it's pretty bad at some points because, you know, the low budget, but at that point it's just gloriously awesome and easily the best action scene in the movie. My overall thoughts on this movie? Well, first of all, it's clearly a product of its time. So there's going to be a lot of things that are just very dated and don't really make sense. But unfortunately, I have to give this movie one thumb down. I really wanted to like this movie because Yeah, the concept, the plot has been done a lot of times before, but the idea of a former cop turned vigilante makes for a great action movie. This one just failed in the execution. It was poorly written and it was poorly directed. Mostly poorly written. Because I spent most of this movie either bored or confused or I just didn't care one way or the other, I can't recommend this movie to anybody. And I feel bad about that because I really wanted to like this movie. It looked great by the trailer, and the synopsis, the plot sounded fantastic. And I really wanted to like this movie, but I just couldn't. I can't recommend it. I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel for new action movie reviews posted every Friday. Also, if you have any recommendations for movies you would like me to review in the future, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you and have a nice day.